very complex, ultimately, Eastern philosopher fellow. And he talks a lot about this, and other people do as well, which is the following notion, which is very, very different. And that is that, and this is a very masculine perspective, and it's very actually expressed in your aphorism, which is every meeting by itself is beautiful. And that actually sexuality by itself, when it's not just consensual, when it's mutual, in whatever form it is, when it's mutual, when it's mutual love and play, it's so beautiful. It's so gorgeous. It's so sacred. It's holy of holies. And that every sexual encounter by itself, right, is an invitation to integrity, is not just light that fills a vessel, it's its own life. And that every sexual encounter by itself, right, invites us to loyalty, to respect, to dignity. You asked me before about this book, Mystery of Love, that you hadn't heard about. Mystery of Love is about this. You'll like this one less than Soul Prince, I promise.
That's not possible.
but it's actually, I think it's a beautiful book that I love a lot. And so one of the things we talk about there, right, this actually might resonate with you more than Soul Prince, right, because your girlfriend wouldn't like it, right? But it talks about just, what does it mean to be a great lover? To be a great lover is not just to be a great giver, also to be a great receiver. So in love, for example, giving and receiving are one. In sexuality, sexuality requires not being in control, but giving up control. Sexuality is a place where, I allow the fantasy of imagination, to run gorgeously wild, and we access that gorgeous faculty of human imagination. The word Adam in Hebrew means demayon, imagination, or homo imaginus. And it's very, very powerful. Time shifts. We have an enormous desire to give and not merely to take. In other words, the sexual itself is this gorgeous container, and that actually, if men and women can meet in that gorgeousness, it itself can be a strong enough, vessel if we listen to the sexual and let it teach us its wisdom for all the potential degradation, which is there, but there's also potential light, And I always had a romanticized vision, of the light, and for a period of my life, particularly the period before Bayit Hadash, closed, had a number of relationships, right, in which were all, fully mutual, no false promises of exclusivity, no false promises of marriage, but, also weren't, as you described, relationships for life, right? So therefore they had the potential for hurt, that you described in them, which is real, right? And I was kind of trying to see what's possible. What's possible. By the way, it didn't work. To kind of share that with you. But and I take responsibility, for anyone who is, emotionally hurt in that process. In other words, I take responsibility for that. And, remember Bono. Bono thinks we hurt each other and we do it again. I just want to offer you something, which moves us to a different place, and we can get back to this. Stop. So let's hold the you play. You know what? Let's stop here. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Thank you.
My first girlfriend, the first woman that I ever had sex with, she told me, you play with a girl's feelings, and then you say you need to act in your own self-interest.
Right.
Basically, you're saying once you're having sex with me, you can't expect me to rationally act in my self-interest. You've gotten me.
Right.
Gotten me in deep.
Meaning, so that's not right. So that's very beautiful. That's not a legal category, right? That's not even an ethical category. It's more of it's a deeper category. It's about spirit, and again, I want to inhabit before I get out, right? So I'm going to say out loud. So Luke is saying, I'm sorry to talk about you in your third person for a second, so I'm saying it to myself, right? That that his first girlfriend said to him, on the one hand, you're kind of being sexual with me, so my feelings are at play here completely. On the other hand, you're telling me, act autonomous in your own self-interest, but actually I'm incapable of doing that.
Yeah,
once we're sexually involved. Once we're sexually involved. Which I assume what diddling means.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I'm extending my vocabulary. So I think there's a profound truth to that.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's a profound truth to that. In other words, on the one hand, and again, classical feminist theorists take complete issue with what you said. And it's basically, you're moving us back to pre-feminism. You're saying once a woman's sexually involved, she can no longer be autonomous and powerful,
Exactly.
right? Which is against everything that feminism was trying to teach, right? You know, what feminism says actually, women can be autonomous and powerful. Women can be sexually autonomous and powerful. Women can make sexual choices. Women can choose to have sexual relationships for pleasure. Women can choose to have sexual relationships, right, you know, for friendship and intimacy. And I have to tell you, I thought that was possible. That I believed the feminist position, and, you know, it's very possible that part of the reason I believed it was because, as a man, I wanted to believe it.
Exactly.
Right? In other words, part of the reason I kind of, you know, believed it was because, for me, right, it was actually a very beautiful experience. Right? You know, and it's, for me, you know, I thought that each one of these relationships, which was unique, which based on affection, you know, was beautiful, but that what I was actually not understanding was that actually this feminist position, right, actually may be actually incorrect, and that one of the things I need to understand was the second that we're sexually involved, it's harder, right, to actually act, you know, with full autonomy. It's harder. Now, I have two groups of women friends today on this issue.
Mm-hmm.
One group of women friends says that what you're saying is utter nonsense, that they in their lives, you know, are able to act with complete autonomy. They say that this position you're expressing is condescending to women, degrading of women, right, and demeaning of women. That's one position. The second position, which I'm calling the Dalit position, you know, for now, right, says you are absolutely right. That actually this feminist notion of human, you know, of feminine autonomy, right, is complete nonsense, right, and that once a woman is involved, right, sexually, she actually loses, right, her ability to be kind of fully discerning, and therefore, the only genuine possibility, going back to the only sacred possibility, is a better way to say it, right, is, you know, a long-term for life monogamous relationship between a man and a woman. Yeah. Right. Now, and there's a huge part of me that's kind of holding that today, right, as the highest possibility. Now let me ask you a question. So what do we do with that today, right, in a society, right, in which that doesn't seem to be an easy possibility? I mean, you're not married, Luke, right?
Right, no.
No. I assume you've been involved with women?
With at least 40 women in my life.
Okay. And
some of them were porn stars, and they were able to have sex without emotional commitment.
Okay. So what do we do today? In other words, on the one hand, and here we get to the gap issue again, right? You know, so what do we do? In other words, our whole society is built in a way, right, that men and women go out. There's
sex society. I mean, women are dressed immodestly. I mean, TV, billboards, everything is conspiring against that ideal that I described.
Right.
So you'd have to battle all of society, not to mention your own nature, to try to fulfill that ideal.
So it's a hard ideal.
Very hard.
Very hard ideal. So is there a way? Okay, we're going to make you the rabbi now. Okay. Okay. So how do we navigate? Right. You know, Rabbi Luke Ford. Right. You know, how do we navigate society? How do we navigate? You know.
Most people need to live in a ghetto. If you're going to fulfill this ideal, you're going to have to ghettoize yourself. You're going to have to. You shouldn't own a TV. You shouldn't go to movies. Maybe you shouldn't even look at the daily newspaper because there are bra ads. You should not be in a room alone with a woman. You should fulfill Orthodox Judaism. If you want to live this ideal, you basically have to most people would have to become Orthodox.
Right, or religious Mormons, right? But not even.
Right.
Something like that.
Become religiously Orthodox.
Religiously Orthodox in some
people
systems.
would need that sort of religious rigor to be able to fulfill that ideal.
Right. No, I think that's right. You know, and I think, by the way, Orthodox Judaism, right, is most powerful in this area because more than Mormonism, you know, it prescribes any physical contact before marriage, and we know that physical contact is always a slippery slope, right? You know, as you point out, if I could just unpack, right, a couple things you said, you know, it says that being alone in a room with someone of the opposite sex is by itself a sexual event, right? It's called yichud, right, and therefore is prescribed,
exactly,
right? 2, you know, 3, you know, it